We're chatting about grief, okay? Grief. So there's a lot of work on grief being done. So what I'm going to offer you is from a split second on learning. When you look at my methodology, like within the Hudson method, grief falls within this. Because we're looking at how does an emotional memory image fit the grief process. If a client has an emotional memory image that fits the grief process, they will find it very, very difficult to get out of the process because the emotional memory image remains. So, what's an emotional memory image? I'll write that one up there. Grabs a green pen this time, which will be terrible for anybody that's watching, but here we go. An emotional memory image. You can Google this and find the definition yourself. It's up on there. But the definition came from myself and Professor Mark Johnson at Leeds Beckett University. So, first up, it's adversity induced. Yeah. So the death of a loved one, I'm going to guess, might cause you a little bit of emotional overwhelm for you. Is that okay? Make sense? So, adversity induced. But yikes, a problem happened. Next, contiguously. This always gets contiguously formed. And so it's a first time event, creates this emotional overwhelm, and then it's from a linguistic point of view, it's a cause and effect. Because of this, that. Yeah? So, and you'll hear people saying, because of the death of, his sister, his brother, her sister, her brother, look, because of the death, they don't do X anymore. Or they do X all of the time. Or does that make sense? And you'll notice there are generalizations attached to this event. That's because the emotional memory image becomes this ever-present filter with which they're observing the world. And some of these households, you can go in and literally the house becomes the shrine, or there's a shrine where their room was, and nothing's changed for years. And that leads to something, the next one was anachronistic. Anachronistic. Yeah. And anachronistic means out of time. Yeah. And I often say that the client may be in the place, but they're not in the space. So their mind is still 20 years ago, or 5 years ago, or whenever it happened. Now, this isn't to displace grief within like 12 or 18 months, which can come as natural. Yeah. This is for people who 2, 3, 5, 10, 20, 30, 40 years out are still struggling with the grief process. Yeah. Multi-modal. The thing with multi-modal is it may be visual, Yeah, it could be auditory, it could be a sound, the sound of their voice. Yeah, the experience of the sensory feelings of their loved one not being here. But not like they're not here, they're not here to touch, but they're still very much here in the mind's eye. And the reason I keep pointing to grief is because they're continuing to grieve the loss. Yeah? Now, it's possible if they've naturally come through the loss, that they're back, it's clear, they can have fond memories. That's what we're aiming for here. Yeah? If they are your client, they're your client because they don't have fond memories yet. They don't have access to the love because the love's on the other side of the EMI. Yeah? So our task is to clear this so they can get access. Yeah? So multi-modal. Next up, amnesia. Amnesia. Because they won't have conscious access to the actual event. They may be able to tell you, oh yeah, and talk you through. When they're talking you through their conscious part, your task is to observe them so you can locate the EMI. Yeah? And normally, depending on which way around they have time, if time is on their left, yeah, the past is on their left and the future is on their right, as you're looking at them, then the EMI will be in the present. And there's a wonderful statement you'll hear in English where we say, he's passed over to the other side. Yeah? Well, if you think about it like that, it kind of makes sense, because if they've passed over to the other side, they're off the main screen and they're to the side, so you can see to get on, to go forwards with your life, and your loved ones get to stay here to observe you continuing. Yeah? So this isn't about getting rid of their connection to their loved one. It's about moving the loved one to the other side. Yeah, so that they have space. The problem is with the grief process, the clock. You want the clock to stand still. And in doing so, you have this anachronistic effect. Your system wants a clock to stand still, so the last image stays frozen in the mind's eye. And that's why they continue to grieve, because it's the final image that they're stuck with. You can't get past the pain of the loss because of the final image. Yeah? And by allowing the final image to move over to the other side, obviously getting a little smaller as we do so, it clears the screen so that they can go forward. If you imagine like driving a car, you can't get very far if your loved one's face is all over the windscreen. It becomes dangerous to drive. So we shrink it down, move it to the side, so we can continue our journey. Yeah? And last but by no means least, non-conscious. It's non-conscious, meaning It's happening outside of their conscious awareness. They're not doing it deliberately, but they are doing it. Because that EMI just sits there and perpetuates the condition. Yeah? So, what we're aiming for is acknowledge where they're at. Acknowledge that we're going to help them to access the love that's created that thing. Yeah? If somebody you couldn't stand died, well, and? So, blessed, but, and? You know, people dying all of the time. So we can assume if they've got grief, it's someone that they loved. And it's thanks to the love and that investment that they've got the EMI. Yeah? It's the connection that makes that. But then what we've got to look at is how do we move the image gently, gracefully, just to the side a little. Yeah? And just by making that slight movement, and you check in with them, and usually you get, is that all right? Any questions? It's all there. So now can you see the structure of grief?